The court is now back in session. And before I hand the floor to the defense team for Anun Chia, the chamber would like to inform the relevant parties that last week the chamber was seized of a request by the co-prosecution, that is A319/7, to request to hear testimonies of new witnesses, and the chamber would like to hear the comments or observations or responses from other parties so that we can use as the basis for our decision, and we can do it for the afternoon session at the end of this afternoon session for that. And the chamber would like now to again hand the floor to Councillor Coupe to continue putting questions. You may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. Witness. Mr. President, excuse me. Mr. Witness, I have one additional question on this document that we have been discussing at length, E3/4093. And it's the same sentence that refers to if children cannot be separated. The witness is doing something with his phone, so I wait till he's finished. Yes, Mr. Witness? So I would like you to go back to that same sentence that starts but if children. I will read to you what I have in my English translation. My English translation reads as follows: but if children cannot be separated from their mothers, request to bring them in for interrogation, and after everything is finished, to sweep them all clean. Now my first question is, children that cannot be separated from their mothers. Does that mean small babies?
On the issue of the word children used in this context, it does not refer to babies. They refer to children. But as I stated, I did not know what happened after, as I only made a report and wrote down the decision from the upper echelon. So whatever was decided by the upper echelon, I would write that down.
I understand, Mr. Witness, but I'm interested in the words children that cannot be separated. Does that mean babies or younger children who are still in the care of their mother?
Children here does not refer to babies or who are still breastfed. Here, to my understanding, it refers to younger children who could walk. And in fact, I did not see what happened next, as I stated.
But the note seems to make a distinction between bigger children that have already gone to the mobile units or children's units on the one hand, and on the other hand, children that cannot be separated from their mothers. So my question is, what exactly do you mean with children that cannot be separated from their mothers?
People who work at the mobile units were the male and female youths. There were also a group of children who were between 10 to 12 years old. And here, as for children who could not be separated from the mother, and I explained it to you already, through my understanding, here it does not refer to the breastfed babies, but it refers to younger children who could speak and who could walk. And further than that, since I did not see what happened, I could not say anything more. I only forwarded the report to Taron for his decision.
Thank you, Mr. Witness. Mr. President, I have a request, and that is in relation to this document. As you know, we have submitted already a few times that no original documents exist, and that everything that we are dealing with are copies. So we have been a bit. We did some handicraft, to put it like that, and we have tried to imitate as much as possible how possibly the original could have looked like. We've based ourselves on the documents, the Khmer documents, and the way that this little note, which is written, it seems, by this witness, was attached to it. I seek your guidance as to how to proceed. I'll show it to you. What we have done is made a copy of what is probably the notebook and what is possibly the way his note was attached. And I would like to ask the witness something about whether this, in fact, would be similar to the way he attached notes to other reports, and if yes, how exactly did that go? So it's something, because of the lack of original documents, we would like to be able to show this to the witness. So I'm in your hands at this request.
May I ask a question? Is the objective to show how they were physically patched together?
Yes, but there are many of those documents, and I'm just trying to establish whether this was in fact how it was done, that he was in fact adding this little handwritten note, because that's how we understand this document to look like.
And why don't you just ask the questions?
Well, you've seen the trouble that I have with getting an answer on this document, so I thought this would be practical.
President, the International Co-Prosecutor, you have the floor.
Well, if Your Honors are considering having this shown to the witness, I think the other parties deserve the opportunity to see what it is.
Mr. President, I'm very happy to leave the question until after the break so that we can give this product of our handicraft to the other parties and to the bench. The reason I'm also asking this now is because it seems to be unclear whether his note in fact refers to the underlying documents. And since we do not have any original whatsoever, I think we need to establish whether his little note in fact refers to the underlying documents, which seem to be one package. So I think this witness is potentially in a unique position as to say how in that period documents were handled, and whether in fact he stapled this or glued this or used a paper clip, and whether it would be possible that this little note has in fact nothing to do with the underlying document.
Just comment that the questions counsel raised make sense, but he can ask them without something that's been created not by a witness. He can ask those questions. How were things attached? Does his note refer to the subsequent documents? He's been doing that already.
Okay, I'll give it a try. Mr. Witness, we have been speaking about the little note that you've said you've written. Do you remember how you attached your little note or your note to the underlying document? Did you staple it? Did you use a paper clip? In this specific case, do you remember how you attached your note to the other documents?
I would just, sorry, my objection is it's not clear that, the question presumes the note was attached to the other documents. The witness hasn't testified to that. And in fact, the document that counsel referred to earlier, that's the next 2 pages. It says, as for the report from the grassroots of Trampong Tom Kong Chung, I have already sent it to the district organization. This is a copy of the report from the grassroots. And then it ends, may the respected and beloved comrade in charge of the district branch please be informed. So I don't want to suggest anything to the witness, but there's definitely other possibilities other than that these documents were sent by the witness with the note. In fact,
I agree completely with the prosecution. The fact is that we don't know. And what we do know is that, as I said many times before, we do not have originals. And we do know that these documents have been extensively used post-1979. If this little note is attached to this document, we need to be able to establish whether that is in fact the case. Because at the end of the day, we're talking about what seems to be a direct order to execute people. And so again, I would like to ask the question that I asked before, Mr. Witness. Do you remember in this specific case whether you in fact attached your note to the underlying documents?
I cannot recall that, because when I see this little note with only 4 lines here in this court, it does not assist me in recollecting what I did at the time.
Do you remember whether you used small little notes, small little papers from a small notebook, and then attach it 2 pages coming from a children's notebook.
I cannot recall that. I did not know how I attached the brief notes to those documents, because what we have in our hands here are copies and they are not the originals.
I would like to read to you, Mr. Witness, a passage from the statement of the female witness that we've been discussing earlier. And I would like to have your attention for question 212. That is document, Mr. President, E3119/12.3.2. And question 212 is the following, and I quote, when the militiamen arrested people, did you write a response letter to Anne? Answer: I did not write to Anne, but I wrote straight to the district secretary, because at that time some letters were forgeries, so I was also worried about myself. In that letter I wrote, now the people have been arrested as requested. Now, Mr. Witness, this particular witness, who seemed to be a cadre at your level, testified to the existence of forgeries. Does that ring any bell with you?
I'd like to show the document that is E3/2785, and it is sent to Comrade Ant that determined flight to June, and the document dated 7 March. And underneath it was signed as a sand, and to my understanding, this letter is a forgery, because forgeries did exist during the decay period. And I can confirm that the handwriting in this letter is not mine. And as in the case of this woman whose statement you just read out, she also confirmed about the forged letters during the decay period. And probably you can understand that why Tyrone did not write his own instruction, and why he only provided an oral instruction to me to write. Maybe he did not want to be implicated due to the fact that the hard copy documents may exist, but the oral report could not be found, and that he did not want to put himself at a risk in this situation.
I understand, Mr. Witness, but would you be able to explain why E3/2785 is a forgery? What is the basis of your reasoning as to why this document, which seems to be a contemporaneous decay document, is in fact a forgery?
The evidence that I rely on is that the handwriting is not my handwriting. It is not my handwriting at all, from what I can see.
But how would you be able to tell that it is a decay forgery? Would it be possible, I ask you to speculate, but is there a knowledge that you have that it could be a post-1979 forgery?
as to the year of the forgery, I cannot tell you.
So you stick to your testimony that because it doesn't look like your handwriting and your signature, and because it says son, it must be a forgery. Is that your testimony?
Yes, it is, because the handwriting is not mine.
How about document, Mr. Witness, E3/2423? I believe that it is your testimony that also, in relation to this document, that it is not your handwriting. Khmer page, Mr. President, 00079128. So again, Mr. Witness, have a look at E3/2423. And tell me whether this is your signature, yes or no, and if you believe it's a forgery.
Document E3/2423 also does not contain my own writing.
But in relation to the previous document, you were very strong in your answer in saying that it is a forgery. Are you saying that this is also a forgery? And if yes, why?
The only reason that I rely on is the handwriting, and that handwriting is not mine.
I would like you, Mr. Witness, to have now a look at E3/2444, and I'm asking you the same question. You testified earlier that this is not your handwriting and your signature. Please confirm.
President, the National Deputy Co-Prosecutor, you have the floor. Prosecutor, Mr. President, in reference to document E3/2444 raised by the Defense Counsel, in my note, the witness stated that he could not read the letter there, and he did not say that it was not his handwriting.
Fair enough. I'll move on to another document. We were basing ourselves upon the draft transcript, so it wasn't always clear to us. Mr. Witness, now I would like you to have a look at E3/4122. My question is the same.
International Deputy Co-Prosecutor. Mr. President, I'd like to have the floor. President, yes. You can proceed. Co-Prosecutor, Mr. President, the Council referred to an E3 document without giving the exact year number, and in this case, this document is 9 pages long. So please instruct him to give us the year number. President, thank you. And Councillor Coupe, could you please specify the year number of the document in the 3 languages so that the parties in the bench can follow your question? And that would also facilitate the Duty Council to assist the witness.
Of course, Mr. President. The Khmer document, the Khmer ERN is 00271087, and the English ERN is 00779255 up until 57. I'm afraid, I apologize, I don't have the French ERN right now. Mr. President, it seems that the Duty Council doesn't actually have E3/4122, so with your permission, I would like to hand over the document to the witness.
President, yes, you may do so.
Mr. Duty Council, I believe it's 00271087, the specific Khmer page. So, Mr. Witness, I believe that yesterday you said this wasn't your handwriting. Are you confirming this now? And if yes, is it your position? I see the prosecution stamp.
President, you may proceed, International Co-Prosecutor.
I was going to say that I did not use this document. I don't recall that Judge Laverne did, or any of the other judges didn't, or the civil parties in their question.
I requested my team to collect all documents shown to the witness that he spoke of. I'm not sure if I did it correctly. So I'll be happy to reorganize this and to make sure that it was actually mentioned in the draft. No? I'll move on to the next document then, just to speed up. And then I look at you as well, Judge Lavergne. I believe E3/2424 was shown yesterday to the witness. And if I do not see any nodding heads, Mr. Witness, I would like you to have a look at E3/2424. I apologize. Khmer ERN 0027 0757 58 and 61.
Si je peux me permettre,
I don't believe I used this document, if you may allow me to say so. I don't believe I used this document.
Then let me propose the following. I will revisit this subject after the break. Maybe something went wrong in the communication within my team. We had to do it very last moment. So, Mr. Witness,
I did use that document.
So question is answered. Mr. Witness, is that your handwriting and your signature? And if no, is it your testimony that this must be a forgery as well?
Answer, which document number you are referring to?
E3/2424. You don't have it? Mr. Witness, with your permission, I would like to hand the document to the witness, E3/2424.
President, you may proceed.
Specifically, Mr. Witness, I would like you to have a look, and Mr. Duty Counsel, Khmer 002 70757, 758, and 761. Well, I'm not a good reader of Khmer, so I think it is on Khmer page 61 at the end, 58 and 57. These are the relevant pages. Mr. Witness, are you able to tell us something about this document? Is that your handwriting and signature that you see in front of you?
Answer. Which EON number? Is it 00270761? And document E3/2424, is that correct?
I just gave you my copy, so I'm not sure. Mr. President, I suggest to do the following, to reorganize it so we have exactly the relevant page. I think we have it now, but I'm relying on my consultant to actually identify the document. So if that is all right with you, I will address this issue after the lunch break. And I move on to the next topic. So, Mr. Witness, I will come back to this issue, but now I would like to ask you a few questions in relation to some other things that the female witness that we just spoke about has testified to. There are certain passages in her statement that I would like to read to you, and my question would be each time to ask for your comment. So, Mr. President, this is E319/12.32. First, I would like to go to question A56. And if the Duty Council has the question laid out for the witness, I would like to quote it. The question is about Tamok. Did you personally know him? The witness is asked. Yes, I personally knew him. Sometimes he came to see the cooperative kitchen and he asked the people whether they ate enough or not. Tamok visited every site. I met Tamok. My question is actually very simple, Mr. Witness. Can you confirm or not that Tamok always asked whether people had enough to eat?
Answer. Tamok always asked, like what the lady said in her statement. He always asked whether people had enough food.
In your recollection, did that mean that he was concerned about whether people had enough to eat? Whether that was one of his prime concerns?
Answer. He was always concerned about this as he was a rice farmer.
Do you recall any situations that he was shown situations in which people didn't have enough to eat and then he instructed to take measures? He instructed people to take measures?
Answer. On some occasion, he took actions, he took measure, he would get the rice from his warehouse and supply it to people.
Thank you, Mr. Witness. The same witness was asked a question in question 101 101. And I would like to read the question to you and her answer, and then again I would like to ask you a reaction. Question. After the Khmer Rouge declared their victory in 1975, Phnom Penh was unpopulated because they evacuated the city. Many people were evacuated to Sector 13. How did the Khmer Rouge authorities divide or classify all of those evacuees? Answer. As I remember, first they concentrated them in one place, then they divided them out to villages to live mingled together. They divided them out to each village based on the economic scale of that village. Please give your reaction to that testimony, Mr. Witness. Is that accurate or not accurate, what the witness says?
Answer. The statement here is correct.
Would you be able to tell us some more what that means, to live mingled together? How did that work in practice?
To live, mingle together means that people from Phnom Penh, they were allowed to live with villagers, yeah. That's the meaning. So people from Phnom Penh had to live with villagers together. In one house, there would be people from Phnom Penh living together with villagers there.
Do you know, or do you remember, if people who had come from Phnom Penh to mingle with the people in the village were discriminated against, just for the reason that they came from Phnom Penh earlier?
Answer. I never experienced any discrimination. I never encountered such incident.
Yet, Mr. Witness, there is testimony that so-called 17 April people felt that they were not as treated as well as the villagers. Are you able to react to that?
Answer. Concerning this matter, I guess perhaps people from Phnom Penh, they had their own thoughts, and I myself have had different thoughts. I, at that time, thought that my relative were from Phnom Penh, and they were 17 April people. And I did not know this matter clearly. Perhaps people just thought that by themselves.
Do you know whether there was a policy, a Khmer Rouge policy, to discriminate against the 17 April people? Do you know if such policy existed?
Answer. Before I came to live in Tramkak district, I did not know whether such a policy existed. I did not recall when I went to live in Tramkak district. I heard the announcement that all people were equal.
Thank you, Mr. Witness. I would like to move on to another passage from this witness statement. Mr. Duty Counsel, that is A111 up until A114. So, Mr. Witness, I would like to read the whole passage. It's a little bit longer than the previous one, but please bear with me. Question. During the Khmer Rouge regime, the party arranged marriages. How did they arrange marriages? Was there a discussion within the sector level, or was that decided by the cooperative level or village level? Answer. The commune level listed the names of couples to be married and sent the names to the sector level to decide how many couples were to be married each time. I, at the lower level, did not dare to make decisions on this issue. The ones who loved each other came to inform us, and we listed their names and sent their names to the sector. Those who did not agree also told us they did not agree, and we crossed out their names. Question. We have evidence, and we know that the people did not have freedom in choosing their spouses, and the party forced people to get married. Is this true? Answer. The party decided, but they arranged for the new people to marry the new people, while the old people had to marry the old people. We can say that there were forced marriages because the party decided them. If the new people had to marry the old people, and if anyone refused, we crossed their names out because some people had bad backgrounds. Question. Were those forced marriages or those marriage arrangements designated by center level down to zone level to sector level, then to district and commune level? Or were they decided by the commune or district level? Answer. The center level did not decide them. The commune and district level did. And finally, question, who decided who was to marry whom? Answer, 114. At my site, I checked which men and women worked together and got along with each other. So I arranged them to marry one another. The village level reported to the commune that this person was to marry that person. And there were also forced marriages. Then the commune level reported to the district level, but I did not know whether or not the district forwarded the report to the upper echelon. I did not know how other sites arranged their marriages. I apologize. I have also question 116, and that's the last question, Mr. President. We have had evidence and been made aware that many men and women refused to get married because they had not known each other before. Did you know about this issue? What happened if they refused to get married as arranged? Answer. Nothing like that happened at my site. They all had known one another because my site was not large. We arranged their marriage and the couples agreed. But if the upper level did not approve, they could not marry. Now, Mr. Witness, that's a long passage from this statement. My question is a general one. Do you agree or not with this particular statement on the marriages?
Answer, I agree with the statements because the arrangement of communes varied. And as for my commune, we had our own arrangement. I agree with this statement.
Do you know if within the decade period there was a policy to force men and women against their will to marry each other? In other words, that they were married even if they didn't agree or even if they didn't love each other.
Answer. I did not know this well, and it depends on the interpretation or the understanding of witnesses, and I did not know well concerning this matter. As for marriage, again, their views and as stated in the written record here, names were crossed out.
But do you know whether there was any general guideline coming from the top to the bottom indicating that people could be forced to marry?
Answer. I did not recall whether there was such a principle or policy. I did not recall it.
What can you tell us about variation between the various communes when it comes to marriage? Do you know, is it your recollection that the way marriages were arranged or entered into varied from commune to commune?
Answer. As for the marriage, the way of marriage, they were not quite different from each other. For example, for couples would be arranged marriage by the chief of cooperatives or communes. The chief of cooperatives or commune would declare that the 4 or 5 couples would be married, and after the announcement or after the declaration, the couples would be asked to rise up and make a resolution whether they agree to live together. Males would rise first and make a resolution, and after that the females turn. And after the making of resolution from the 5 or 4 couples, there would be dinner, there would be chicken, there would be soup, there would be rice.
You're talking about the ceremony. What can you tell us about the way men and women found each other? Do you know whether there was a difference between the one commune and the other commune in the way that couples were brought together?
Answer. Actually, a man and women were from the same commune, but perhaps men and women were from different villages. They were in the same mobile units or in the same work sites. They could see each other every day, and perhaps they could be matched. There was arrangement in Libo. There was such incidents that the drivers from other mobile units. There was incident that driver from other mobile units, and they were matched with the people from another village. And as for the marriage ceremony, I mentioned for you already. There were no music played, there were no acharyas attending the ceremony.
My last question on this subject, Mr. President, before the break. Do you remember or recall any instances in which a woman who didn't like her future husband was nevertheless forced to marry him?
Answer. I witnessed one incident in Lebo. The driver from Sector 13 got married with a woman in the mobile unit in Lebo. After 10 days of marriage, the woman refused that she did not want to live with that man. There was no reaction at that time from the chief of the commune, and the couple were separated from each other for a while, and that woman was explained, and the man was also explained by his colleagues, and after a few days they came to live together. There was another incident. The couple got married, and after 1 month they wanted to live away from each other. And they live separate from each other, and after the Vietnamese invasion, the husband of that lady ran into the forest. And at that time, there was a request for a remarriage by that man, but it was refused because it was found out that the wife of that man still alive. And then the lady was brought back to the area, and they lived together. And later on, the lady ran away from the husband again. So these were the two incidents I encountered and I witnessed.
One last follow-up question, Mr. Witness. Did you mentioned only 2 incidents? Do you know whether the women in these 2 incidents were ever punished or did ever get in trouble because of their refusal?
Answer, no.
Thank you, Mr. Witness.
President, thank you very much. It is now time for lunch. The court will adjourn from now until 1:30. Court officer, please facilitate a proper room for this witness and for the duty counsel, and you are instructed to invite the witness together with the duty counsel into this courtroom before 1:30. Security personnel are instructed to bring Mr. Kyusumpon to a waiting room downstairs and have him returned before 1:30 p.m. this afternoon. The court is now adjourned.